The Kingdom of Mali. In the 14th century, the Kingdom of Mali was Africa's greatest empire. It controlled vast gold and salt trade routes across West Africa, making it one of the richest regions in the world at the time. Its capital, Timbuktu, became a famous center of learning, attracting scholars from across Africa and the Middle East. Mali reached its peak under Mansa Musa, who is often called the richest man in history. His legendary pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324 was so extravagant that the gold he spent along the way caused inflation in several cities. But after his death, Mali's power began to fade. Internal struggles weakened the leadership, and rival kingdoms chipped away at its borders. Trade routes shifted to the coast, reducing Mali's economic power. By the 1600s, the once great empire had fractured into smaller states and was no longer the dominant force it had once been. The Ming Dynasty. The Ming Dynasty ruled China from the 14th to the 17th century. It is remembered for building the Great Wall as we know it today and for sending out massive treasure fleets under Admiral Zheng He. These fleets traveled as far as Africa, showcasing China's wealth and power. But all empires face challenges. By the 1600s, the Ming faced growing problems, high taxes, corrupt officials, and widespread poverty. Farmers rebelled and the government struggled to maintain control. In 1644, rebels stormed Beijing. Desperate, the Ming asked the Manchu people from the north for help. The Manchu defeated the rebels, but then took power for themselves, starting the Qing dynasty. The Ming had fallen, marking the end of native Han Chinese rule for centuries. The Mongol Empire. The Mongol Empire was the largest land empire in world history, stretching from China all the way to Eastern Europe. Founded by Genghis Khan in the early 13th century, the Mongols were expert horsemen and fearless warriors. They used speed, discipline, and psychological warfare to crush their enemies. At its height, the empire controlled trade along the Silk Road, connecting east and west like never before. But after Genghis Khan's death, the empire was divided among his sons and grandsons into smaller khanates. These khanates often fought each other, weakening the Mongol grip on their vast territory. Over time, rising powers like Russia, Persia, and China pushed back. By the late 14th century, the Mongol Empire had fractured and faded, leaving behind only legends of its incredible rise and brutal conquests. The Mughal Empire. The Mughal Empire ruled most of India from the 16th to the 18th century. It was known for its incredible wealth, grand architecture, and cultural achievements. The empire gave the world the Taj Mahal, a stunning monument to love and one of the most famous buildings on earth. But the empire's success didn't last forever. Religious tensions between Muslims and Hindus grew worse over time. Corruption and constant wars drained the empire's resources. By the 18th century, the British East India Company took advantage of the Mughal Empire's weakness. Piece by piece, they gained control, turning India into a British colony. The Mughal emperors remained in a name for a while, but their power was gone. The Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire lasted over 600 years, ruling much of southern Eastern Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa. At its height, it was one of the most powerful empires in the world, controlling key trade routes between East and West. The Ottomans were famous for their military strength, architecture, and cultural achievements. But by the 19th century, things started to fall apart. Nationalist movements and uprisings spread across the empire. Military defeats piled up. European powers began calling it the sick man of Europe. During the World War I, the Ottomans sided with Germany and lost. After the war, the empire was carved up by victorious powers. In 1922, the last Ottoman Sultan was deposed and modern Turkey was born. The Ottoman Empire was finished. The Roman Empire. The Roman Empire is one of the most famous examples of collapse in history. For centuries it ruled Europe, North Africa and the Middle East. The Romans built roads, cities, aqueducts and legal systems that shaped Western civilization. But Rome grew too big to manage. Corruption, civil wars and economic troubles weakened the empire from within. Meanwhile, invasions from Germanic tribes pushed the empire's borders back. In 476 CE, the last Western Roman Roman emperor was overthrown. While the Eastern Roman Empire, known as the Byzantine Empire, survived for another 1,000 years, the western half was gone. Rome's fall marked the beginning of the Middle Ages in Europe. The Songhai Empire. After Mali's decline, the Songhai Empire rose to power in West Africa. Centered around the city of Gao, it became one of Africa's largest empires, controlling trade across the Sahara Desert. Songhai was known for its military strength and its centers of learning in cities like Timbuktu. But in 1591, the Moroccans invaded with a small but well-armed army. They used guns and cannons, which the Songhai soldiers, armed with spears and swords, could not match. Songhai's army was crushed and the empire quickly broke apart. The fall of Songhai marked the end of West Africa's era of great empires. The Viking Greenland colony. In 1985, Norse settlers from Iceland and Norway founded colonies on Greenland. For centuries they survived by farming, hunting and trading with Europe. They even built churches and farms, creating a small but stable community. However, the climate began to change. The Little Ice Age brought colder temperatures, making farming nearly impossible. Trade routes to Europe dried up and competition with the native Inuit people for resources grew. By the 15th century, the colony had vanished. The Vikings abandoned Greenland, leaving behind ruins and unanswered questions about their final years. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it interesting or learned something new, make sure to leave a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. Thanks again and see you next time.